The silence in the house was a kind of a lie. It wasn't the peaceful quiet of a Saturday morning. It was the heavy kind of quiet that follows a fight, the air still thick with unspoken words and the ghost of slammed doors. A year ago, Sarah had come home, her face a mask of genuine panic. "I lost it, John. The ring. My God, I'm so sorry." We had searched everywhere, retracing her steps from the gym, tearing apart the house. She had cried, and I had held her, telling her it was just a thing. A thing. What a joke. That simple piece of metal was a promise. Our promise. I'd bought her a replacement, but she never wore it. Said it didn't feel right. I told myself I understood. What a bummer. The whole thing had been a dark cloud for months. Now, a year later, I was cleaning out the nightstand drawer on my side of the bed. It was a mess of old receipts, tangled charging cables, and those stupid hotel key cards you always forget to throw away. I reached to grab a stack of papers and something hard clinked against the wood. My hand froze. My heart, a panicked little drum, went from 0 to 100. A small, velvet pouch. Not hers. The kind you get with jewelry. I'd never seen it before. My gut twisted. I knew I shouldn't have opened it. Maybe I hoped it was some lame Christmas gift she'd forgotten about. But my hand wasn't mine anymore. It was an independent actor in this little drama, guided by a force stronger than reason. Inside, nestled on a soft satin bed, was my wedding band. The one she'd claimed was lost forever. The one I'd given her on our wedding day. It was clean, polished, not a scratch on it. It wasn't just a ring. It was a ghost. A physical manifestation of a lie that had lived under our roof for a year. A quiet, polished lie. What would you do if you found something like that? The simple discovery of an object you believed to be gone, an object that held so much weight, a symbol of your marriage. The thought, the question, was a knife twisting in my gut. What else was a lie? What else was a polished, clean little secret hidden in plain sight? There was a faint scent of her perfume in the drawer. A sweet, floral fragrance that now felt mocking. The whole room felt different. The light from the window was too bright. The familiar furniture felt like props on a stage. Our stage. The worst part, a little note, folded neatly, tucked beneath the pouch. It was written in a handwriting I didn't recognize. The words were a simple, elegant script. "Don't forget, you can't run from your past forever. You know where to find me." My name wasn't on the note. Neither was hers. The air in my lungs was stolen, replaced by a cold dread. This wasn't just about a ring. This was bigger. This was a mystery box, and I just lifted the lid. The question of who it was for, who had written it, was a terrifying puzzle. Was it a message for her, or was it something else? I could feel a fine, cold sweat on my back. My mind was racing, trying to put the pieces together. The missing ring, the strange pouch, the mysterious note. All of it felt like a scene from a movie, and I was just a character in it. A character who had no idea what was coming next. The only thing I knew for sure was that my life, the one I thought I knew, was a facade. And I had just peeled back the corner. The air in the room felt thick, almost suffocating. That note. "Don't forget, you can't run from your past forever. You know where to find me." It pulsed in my mind like a neon sign in a dark alley. My hands were shaking as I shoved the ring and the note back into the pouch, then crammed the pouch deep into the drawer. Out of sight, but definitely not out of mind. My brain was a whirlwind of questions. Who was you, Sarah, or someone else entirely? And who was the sender? This wasn't some casual flirtation. This reeked of something darker, something with history. My eyes landed on Sarah's laptop, sitting innocently on her side of the bed. We shared everything, or so I thought. Our lives were intertwined, our digital footprints merged. Yet, at that moment, her laptop felt like a vault, holding secrets I wasn't privy to. What kind of mess was I stumbling into? A memory pricked me. A few months ago, Sarah had been glued to her screen, looking stressed. "Just work stuff," she'd mumbled when I asked. "New AI integration, it's a nightmare." She'd been distant, quick to irritation. I chalked it up to the pressures of her corporate job, the endless cycle of virtual meetings. But now, every little anomaly felt like a giant red flag. I knew her password. It was our anniversary. Lame, I know, but that's how we rolled. A simple code to a seemingly simple life. I hesitated, my finger hovering over the keyboard. Was I really about to invade her privacy to become that paranoid husband from a bad thriller? My moral compass spun wildly. But then, the image of that ring, gleaming in the velvet pouch, flashed in my mind. Screw it. My gut was screaming. The screen flickered to life. Her desktop was meticulously organized, unlike mine, which looked like a digital dumpster fire. There was a folder labeled Old Projects. My heart hammered. Why old projects when she just updated everything to the cloud? I clicked. Inside, nestled amongst boring-looking spreadsheets and presentations, was a subfolder simply titled Archive_2019. That was the year before we met. Before our perfect, suburban life began. A cold shiver ran down my spine. This felt like a digital time capsule. I clicked again. Dozens of files. Not spreadsheets. Not presentations. Text files. Email files. And one, chillingly, named letters__M. M who was M. A sick feeling brewed in my stomach. This wasn't some work project. This was personal. This was a whole hidden narrative. I opened the first one. The date was April 12, 2019. The salutation, my dearest Michael. Michael. Not Mark. Not Mike. Michael. And the voice in the letter, it wasn't Sarah's. Not the Sarah I knew. It was raw, passionate, almost desperate. She was talking about a life she couldn't leave, a debt she had to pay. The choices I've made haunt me. One line read, I just need a clean slate. A new identity. New identity, my head swam. Was this some kind of witness protection program stuff, or something far more sinister? What would you think if your partner had an entire archive devoted to a hidden past, a past before you? Complete with declarations of love to another man and talk of a new identity. The hum of the laptop fan was the only sound, a stark contrast to the earthquake rattling inside me. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a layered cake of deception, and I was only on the first bite. My fingers trembled, scrolling through the old letters. Each word was a punch to the gut, painting a picture of a past Sarah had painstakingly erased. My dearest Michael. The words burned. Who was this Michael, and what did he have to do with my wife? With my Sarah? The woman I married was a bright, open book, or so I thought. This woman, the one confessing deep secrets to Michael, was a stranger. One letter, dated October 2019, hit me like a ton of bricks. The money is almost gone. I need to disappear. He's looking for me. The only way out is a clean break, a new life. Money. Disappearance. He's looking for me. This wasn't just a romance. This was something out of a Pulp Fiction novel, a shadowy past she'd been running from. And I, the clueless suburban husband, had been her unwitting accomplice in this elaborate vanishing act. I clicked on another file, a spreadsheet labeled Expenses_Project X. It wasn't corporate jargon. It was a detailed list of cash withdrawals, shell company names, and what looked like payments to an offshore account. The date stretched back to early 2019, overlapping with the letters. This wasn't just some old flame. This was financial entanglement. Fraud. Maybe my mind reeled. The soft glow of the screen illuminated my reflection, a face I barely recognized. Pale, eyes wide with a mix of shock and morbid curiosity. The house was utterly silent, but in my head, sirens were blaring. The familiar scent of her shampoo, usually comforting, now felt tainted, an invisible shroud of deceit hanging in the air. I thought about our life. Our cozy house, the shared laughter over lame reality TV, the quiet evenings reading. Was it all just an act? A really convincing performance was Sarah, the woman who worried about recycling and meticulously organized our pantry. Actually living a double life. What would you do if you found out your entire married life might be built on a foundation of sand? A tiny detail in one of the letters snagged my attention. The incident with the company car still haunts me. What company car? Sarah had always worked from home, a freelance graphic designer. No company cars. Another piece of the puzzle, deliberately missing from the narrative she'd fed me. The layers of this secret were starting to feel endless. Then, a sudden ping from the laptop. A notification. Not an email. A direct message on X, formerly Twitter. It was from an unknown account, a handle I didn't recognize. Still got that burner phone, Angel. My breath hitched. Burner phone, Angel, that certainly wasn't Sarah's name. This wasn't just about Michael. This was about a complete alternate identity. A secret life. The message was recent, too. This wasn't ancient history. This was active. She wasn't just running from her past. She was still tangled in it. The casual tone of the message, as if picking up a conversation, sent a chill down my spine. The ring in the drawer, the letters to Michael, the financial irregularities, and now, this cryptic message about a burner phone and an alias. The quiet suburban street outside seemed to mock me with its normalcy. My world had just shattered into a million pieces, and each shard was sharper than the last. And the thought that she was still actively involved, perhaps even in danger, made my blood run cold. Still got that burner phone, Angel. The words from the ex message echoed in my head, each syllable a fresh jolt of fear. Angel. A burner phone. This wasn't some long-forgotten past. This was current. This was active. Sarah, my wife, the woman who worried about expired yogurt, was apparently running a parallel life under the alias Angel, complete with clandestine communications. My mind scrambled, trying to connect the dots. The old projects folder was from 2019. The letters _to_M were from then too. But this ex message, it was from yesterday. The digital trail wasn't cold, it was sizzling. The sheer audacity of it all, playing this double game while sharing my bed, my life. It was like living with a ghost, a phantom limb of a person I thought I knew. I clicked on the profile of the ex-sender. Just a generic avatar, no followers, no posts. A ghost account. A clear sign of someone trying to stay hidden. The kind of account you use when you don't want to be found. Or when you're looking for someone specific. What would you feel if you found out your partner had a secret digital life, a whole other identity being used for shady communications? The thought was enough to make my stomach churn. I looked at Sarah's work calendar on the laptop. Meetings, deadlines, the usual corporate grind. All perfectly normal. But was she actually attending those Zoom calls, or was she off-grid, handling Angel's affairs? The trust I'd so effortlessly given her for years was now in tatters, like a favorite old shirt caught in a blender. I remembered a strange incident a few weeks ago. She'd received a package, unmarked, delivered by a private courier, not the usual Amazon drone. She'd opened it in the garage, out of my sight. When I asked what it was, she'd vaguely said, just some samples for a new client. I hadn't thought anything of it then. Now, every small, unexplained event spiraled into a grand conspiracy. The scent of ozone, a telltale sign of a recent electrical surge, lingered faintly in the air around her laptop, almost as if something intense had just happened. I felt a cold dread settle over me. This wasn't just about betrayal of our marriage vows. This was about a threat. People don't talk about burner phones and running from the past unless there's something genuinely dangerous going on. Was she a victim, or was she something else, an accomplice? The moral ambiguity of the situation was a heavy weight. I hated the thought of her being in danger, but I also hated the thought of her being a master manipulator. My gaze fell on a framed photo on her nightstand, a picture of us, laughing, arms around each other at the beach, the setting sun painting us in golden hues. It felt like a lifetime ago. That innocent, happy man in the picture felt like a fool. A naive, unsuspecting fool. The photo, usually a source of warmth, now felt like a cruel joke, a relic of a beautiful lie. The screen glare reflected in my eyes. I had to dig deeper. I needed to know the full extent of Angel's life. This ex message was a lifeline, a thread leading into a labyrinth. I needed to find that burner phone, and I needed to know what he was looking for. The idea that someone was actively pursuing her, a ghost from her past, sent shivers down my spine. The hunt was on, whether I liked it or not. And the prey was my own wife. The ex message taunted me, a digital breadcrumb leading into the unknown. Burner phone, Angel. It felt like a riddle wrapped in a nightmare. My mind was wired, buzzing with a frantic energy I hadn't felt since college finals. Where would she keep a burner phone? My Sarah, the minimalist, the declutterer? It wouldn't be in plain sight. I started with her closet, meticulously going through every coat pocket, every shoebox. Nothing. The familiar scent of her laundry detergent, usually comforting, now just smelled normal. Too normal. Like a disguise. What a mind mess. I then moved to her office, checking under her desk, inside old briefcases. Still nothing. The silence in the house felt oppressive, amplifying every rustle of fabric, every creak of the floorboards as I searched. Then I remembered her emergency kit in the garage. A small, nondescript plastic bin she kept for just-in-case scenarios, power outages, minor quakes. We live in California, after all. It held flashlights, batteries, a first-aid kit, and, I now realized, a perfect hiding spot for something she really didn't want found. My hands fumbled with the latch of the bin. Inside, beneath a rolled-up blanket and a dusty set of jumper cables, was a small, plain black box. Not a phone box. Just a generic utility box. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was it. This had to be it. I opened the box. And there it was. Not a sleek smartphone, but an older model flip phone, scratched and worn, clearly not something she used daily. Beside it, a stack of prepaid top-up cards. And a single, yellowed key. Not a house key. Not a car key. A small, old-fashioned key, the kind that might open a safety deposit box. Or an apartment. An apartment. The thought hit me like a physical blow. A secret apartment. A place where Angel lived. The cold, metallic scent of the garage seemed to deepen, a sharp, unfeeling smell that matched the chill in my chest. What kind of mess had I married into? I stared at the key, its dull brass reflecting the weak garage light. It was a tangible link to her other life. A second life. A life I knew absolutely nothing about. The letters to Michael, the financial irregularities, the burner phone message, it all clicked into a terrifying new picture. She wasn't just running from a past, she was actively maintaining a separate existence. I remembered a few months ago, Sarah would occasionally say she was working late at the studio even though she worked from home. I'd assumed she meant a client's office. Now, my mind supplied a far more sinister possibility: a secret studio. A secret apartment. Was she meeting someone there, Michael, or someone else even more dangerous? What would you do if you found a key like this, a secret key, to a life your partner was hiding from you? The possibilities were endless, and each one more terrifying than the last. I picked up the flip phone, my thumb hovering over the power button. Should I turn it on? Should I risk revealing? I knew the temptation was immense, but so was the fear. I could expose her, yes. But what if it exposed me to whatever danger she was tangled in? The choice hung heavy in the air. The small, unassuming key in my hand felt like a lead weight, pulling me deeper into her murky secrets. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was about survival. Both hers, and potentially, mine. The flip phone felt ancient in my hand, a relic from a time before endless scrolling and AI-generated deepfakes. But this wasn't about nostalgia. This was about a secret. My thumb hesitated over the power button. What if it had a password? What if it triggered some alert? My heart thumped a frantic rhythm against my ribs. Screw it. I had to know. I pressed the button. The screen flickered to life, a low-res display lighting up the dim garage. No password. Just a few bars of signal. My breath caught in my throat. This was it. The inbox held only a handful of messages, all from an unsaved number. They were short, cryptic. Meeting confirmed. 8 p.m. Pier 7. Got the drop. Safe. He's getting antsy. Lay low. All recent. All within the last month. Pier 7, that was downtown, near the old shipping docks. A sketchy area, even in 2025 with all the urban renewal projects. What kind of drop were they talking about? And he's getting antsy. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. This isn't just a clandestine affair. This was a transaction. Something illicit. Then I saw it. A message from last week, the one that made my blood run cold. Found the apartment. Sending the key. He knows. The key. The one I held in my hand. Someone had found the apartment. And he knows. The implication was terrifying. Someone was after her. Not Michael, not the sender of the X message, but someone more immediate, more threatening. This wasn't just Sarah's past catching up. It was a present danger. And it was knocking on the door, perhaps quite literally. My phone, in my pocket, buzzed with a notification from my bank app. Just a monthly statement alert. But it made me think. Financial entanglements. What if this was a debt, a huge sum of money she owed to dangerous people? The spreadsheet labeled expenses_project X flashed in my mind. The shell companies, the offshore accounts. It all pointed to something deep, dark, and potentially illegal. What would you do if you realized your partner's secrets put your entire life at risk? The garage, usually a sanctuary of tools and projects, now felt like a stage for a brewing storm. The scent of motor oil seemed to mix with a faint, metallic tang, like old coins, or something even more ominous. I scrolled through the call log. Only one outgoing number, called repeatedly. A different number than the texts. I quickly typed it into my own phone's search bar. The results popped up instantly, courtesy of some AI-powered data aggregator. The number belonged to a PI agency, a private investigator. Not just any PI, but one with a reputation for tracking down missing persons and uncovering hidden assets. A PI agency. This wasn't about Sarah running from someone. She was actively trying to find someone. Or hide something. Or maybe both. The puzzle pieces were falling into place, but they formed a picture far more disturbing than I could have imagined. Was she the victim, trying to escape a perilous situation, or was she the one pulling the strings, orchestrating something elaborate and dangerous? The flip phone, a symbol of her hidden life, felt heavy in my hand. And the thought that a private investigator was involved, someone actively digging into this mess, made my anxiety skyrocket. This was no longer just a domestic drama. This was something far more sinister, and I was right in the middle of it. The name of the PI agency burned in my mind. Guardian Investigations. What a name. It reeked of dark corners and whispered secrets. Sarah hiring a private investigator. This wasn't about her running from someone, at least not in the way I'd first imagined. This was about her looking for someone. Or something. And the he knows message on the burner phone now took on a terrifying new meaning. Someone else knew she was digging. I typed the agency's name into a deep dive search engine, one of those new AI-powered ones that scrapes public records and dark web forums. The results were instantaneous and chilling. Guardian Investigations specialized in corporate espionage, intellectual property theft, and locating individuals who had gone off the grid. This wasn't some mom-and-pop missing persons outfit. This was serious. This was high stakes. My eyes fixated on a recent news article about a major tech company, Omnicorp, that had suffered a massive data breach involving advanced AI prototypes. The article mentioned a rogue former employee, a brilliant but volatile lead developer, who had disappeared with proprietary algorithms. The details were sparse, but the timeline, it aligned perfectly with the archive_2019 folder. And the expenses_project X spreadsheet. Could Sarah be involved in this? What would you do if you discovered your wife might be entangled in a corporate espionage scandal? The thought was absurd. Sarah, the graphic designer yet, her freelance work had always been vaguely defined, shrouded in corporate speak I never really understood. Creative solutions for emerging tech startups. Was that a cover? The air in the garage felt heavy, thick with the weight of unanswered questions. The faint smell of stale gasoline from the lawnmower seemed almost fitting, a sign of volatile elements contained, but barely. I looked at the burner phone again. The number she'd called, the one linked to Guardian Investigations. Could she be the one who leaked the data, or was she trying to track down the actual culprit? Was Michael involved in Omnicorp? The possibilities swirled, each more dizzying than the last. This is no longer just a betrayal of vows. This is a full-blown thriller, and I am caught in the crosshairs. My gaze drifted to the small, cracked mirror hanging near the workbench, reflecting my strained face. It was a cheap thing, probably left by the previous owners, but at that moment, it felt symbolic. My perception of my life, of my marriage, was just as shattered. 1,000 sharp fragments, reflecting a distorted reality. The PI's involvement meant one thing: Sarah wasn't just hiding a past. She was actively pursuing something, or someone, connected to it. And the fact that someone else knew she was digging, that he knows, suggested a countermove was imminent. The message on the burner phone became a ticking clock. Who was he, and what would he do when he caught up to Angel? The sense of danger, once a vague chill, solidified into a tangible threat. My perfect suburban life was crumbling, not from within by a broken heart, but from external pressures, from a shadowy world I never knew existed. And my wife, my seemingly innocent Sarah, was at its very core. The architect. The name echoed, a phantom whisper in my increasingly fractured mind. Angel _ V2.0 discussing asset retrieval and containment protocols. My quiet, predictable life had been ripped apart, revealing a seething underbelly of corporate espionage and shadowy figures. My wife, Sarah, was at the heart of it, not just as a victim, but as an active participant. The realization was a cold, hard knot in my stomach. I delved deeper into the chat logs, eyes burning from the screen glare. The architect was clearly a key player. The way they spoke about him, with a mix of fear and reluctant respect, suggested he wasn't just another rogue developer. He was dangerous. He had leverage. And whatever he had, Sarah wanted it back, or wanted to contain it. The tension in the air around me felt palpable, a low hum of anxiety that was almost physical. One message chilled me to the bone: the architect is aware of your new identity. He sees your progress, Angel. Be careful. My new identity. This confirmed it. Sarah had fully adopted a new life, a new name, to escape this mess. And the architect knew. He was watching her. Which meant he was, indirectly, watching me. What would you do if you realized your quiet suburban home was under the gaze of a dangerous, unknown entity? The burner phone, still lying on the workbench, vibrated suddenly. A new message. My heart leaped into my throat. It was from the unsaved number, the one from the PI agency. Update: the architect just made a major move. He's trying to liquidate everything. We need to intercept. ASAP. Liquidate everything. This wasn't just about data anymore. This was about money, assets, a full-blown escape plan. And intercept. That sounded like a direct confrontation. Sarah, my wife, was heading into a dangerous situation, perhaps armed with nothing but her wits and a burner phone. The metallic taste of fear filled my mouth. I remembered the economic instability of 2025, how AI was displacing jobs, how desperate people were. Was this all a desperate act for financial survival, or something darker? The line between victim and perpetrator blurred with every new piece of information. The symbolic image of our empty wedding album flashed in my mind. All those blank pages, representing the years we had shared, now seemingly devoid of true meaning, filled instead with unspoken lies. I had to act. I couldn't just sit here, watching my world unravel from behind a screen. But what was the right move? Confront Sarah, go to the police. Tell them my wife was Angel, involved in corporate espionage and tracking a dangerous architect. They'd think I was a nut. Or worse, an accomplice. The clock on the garage wall ticked loudly, each second a hammer blow against my skull. The scent of dust and stale air was suffocating. I had two options, both terrifying. Either I continue digging on my own, risking everything, or I make contact with Guardian Investigations. Maybe they could fill in the blanks. Maybe they could explain Sarah's role. Was she trying to save herself, or was she trying to bring down the architect? The line between truth and deception had vanished, and I was left adrift in a sea of terrifying unknowns. The hunt for answers was no longer just a personal quest, it was a desperate race against time. The weight of the burner phone in my hand was immense, a tiny device holding the shattered fragments of my life. The architect just made a major move. He's trying to liquidate everything. We need to intercept. ASAP. The message was a clarion call, dragging me from the paralysis of shock into desperate action. This wasn't a problem for tomorrow. This was a now problem. My mind raced through the options, each one worse than the last. Call the police and explain that my wife, Angel, was involved in an Omnicorp data breach, tracking a mysterious architect who was now liquidating assets. They'd laughed me out of the station. Confront Sarah. What if she just lied again? What if she was in too deep? And my interference just made things worse. The thought of her, tangled in this web, still twisted my gut. Even after everything, a part of me still wanted to protect her. What a messed up feeling. But the alternative was worse: doing nothing. Letting this shadowy world swallow her whole, and perhaps drag me down with it. My house, our quiet life, felt like a cage now, suffocating me with its pretense of normalcy. The scent of her perfume, still lingering faintly in the air, suddenly felt like a challenge, a dare. I made a decision. A reckless, stupid, utterly desperate decision. I had to go to the PI agency. Guardian Investigations. They had the lead. They had the information. And they seemed to be working with Sarah. If I was going to find out the truth, if I was going to intercept anything, it had to be through them. I grabbed my car keys, the metallic jingle sounding impossibly loud in the silent house. As I walked out, my eyes landed on our wedding photo on the mantelpiece. Sarah, smiling, radiant, her hand resting gently on mine, her ring glinting in the light. Now I knew that ring had been hidden away even then, a symbol of a lie I never saw. The image, once a source of comfort, now felt like a final, mocking goodbye to the man I used to be. A fool. A blind, trusting fool. The drive downtown was a blur. My mind was wired, replaying every cryptic message, every strange detail, every lie. The urban sprawl of 2025 felt alien, the flashing neon signs of AI-powered billboards advertising futuristic conveniences feeling like a grotesque mockery of my analog problem. I pulled up to a nondescript building, a grim concrete facade in a grimmer part of town. Guardian Investigations. The sign was barely visible, faded and peeling. This wasn't some sleek, modern office. This was a place where secrets came to die, or to be reborn. I pushed open the heavy glass door. The interior was dimly lit, smelling of old paper and stale coffee. A woman sat behind a scratched reception desk, her face obscured by the low light. She looked up, her eyes sharp, assessing. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice flat. I'm looking for information about a case. Someone called Angel, I stammered, feeling utterly out of my depth. And the architect. Her expression didn't change, but her eyes narrowed, a flicker of something unreadable passing through them. She didn't deny it. She didn't ask how I knew. She just reached under the counter. My heart pounded. Was she calling security, or was she reaching for a weapon? She pulled out a single, thick manila folder. It was old, worn at the edges. And on the tab, in stark, bold letters, was a name. Not Angel. Not the architect. It was my name. John Doe. My blood ran cold. The final twist. This wasn't just Sarah's secret. This was my secret. Or rather, her secret about me. The moral dilemma I thought I was grappling with, revenge or forgiveness, evaporated. This wasn't about her betrayal anymore. This was about a hidden narrative with me at its center. The silence in the office was deafening, the only sound the frantic pounding of my own heart. And in that moment, I knew. The game wasn't just starting. It had been playing for years. And I was the last to know I was a pawn,